Hi y'all, it's Charlotte Curtis, Head of Adult Services with the Livingston Parish Library, here with this week's adult craft video. Last time we were together, we made a pillow cover out of an old fleece blanket that you just tied around the edges. And while we were doing that, I thought, we're really living through some very, very interesting times. And in what I hope will be the not too distant future, we're going to sit back and reflect on everything that we've done during these crazy days of stay at home, stay off the roads. So for today, I thought it would be fun if we did something that I'm calling a COVID virus memory box. As we always do with these videos, we're trying to come up with ideas for things that you can do at home without having to go out and buy any special supplies. So to do today's memory box, all that you have to do is get a shoebox or a similar sized box, and you need a pair of scissors. Then you just need something with which to cover the box. Now, this box uses contact paper because I figured contact paper is probably something that most of you have at home. If it isn't, it's something you can easily pick up a roll of when you go to the grocery store the next time that you're out getting groceries. So for this first box, obviously I've just covered it in contact paper, super easy to do. If you are going to be purchasing contact paper, I highly recommend an all-over pattern like this because you can't see, but I've used all kinds of little pieces and scraps left over because I like to get my full money's worth out of that roll of paper. And I certainly did, but you can't see any of the many different pieces that are up here. So if you want to try something a little bit fancier, you can get some pretty gift wrap paper that you have around the house, or you can use scrapbook paper, which is what I've done for the second example. For this one, I had a box that I decided I would cover in contact paper. By the way, when I first had this idea, I thought this would be the perfect time to get out my glue gun, so I tried it. It was a disaster. Now, admittedly, my hot glue gun skills aren't the best, but when I did it, I wound up with big lumpy streaks all over, and when I put the paper on, you could clearly see the lumps through the paper, and it just didn't work at all. So, if you decide to go with the paper option instead of contact paper, grab your trusty glue stick. I love these because they now are purple, which makes it very, very easy for you to see where you've already been so that you get all the glue in the right place. So, pick up your paper, put your glue all over, and by the way, you'll notice that I am putting the glue on the paper. I tried doing it the other way. I tried putting it on the box, and it just didn't stick well. So, don't know why. Don't question it. There I go. There it is. I've got all of the glue and put it down. The other thing I like about the glue stick is that while it dries really quickly, it is still forgiving enough that if you don't get it on the way you're supposed to get it, and I never do the first time, you can reposition it without messing up your project. As you can see, I am having to repeel and restick. 1 second. Here we go, here we go. And there it is. So, and as much fun as it will be to decorate your box, and by the way, I just went with paper to decorate mine. Some other things you could do, you could cut out headlines from the newspapers, decoupage that on. You could use greeting cards, again, decoupage greeting cards on your shoebox. If you're artistically inclined, just put a piece of plain paper on the box and draw something. If you've got kids at home or grandchildren at home, this would be a perfect display venue for their artwork. You can do that. Or, maybe the baby's footprints or handprints or something like that. It's your box, decorate it the way that you want to. But when you do have your box all ready to go, that's not really the important thing. It's a fun way to spend an afternoon, but the important part of a memory box is, of course, the memories that will go inside. So let me show you some of the things that's going to go inside this box. First, a mask and gloves, right? Because this will help me remember how radically everything has changed here in just a very short period of time. Now when we go out in public, we're supposed to wear a mask. And I can't even go collect the mail from my mailbox without putting on a pair of gloves. So, of course, if you're going to the grocery store, you should have on a mask and you should have on gloves to keep yourself safe. So, I'm putting those in my box. Something else that I'm putting in my box, a bag of beans. Because when I started preparing for the COVID crisis and staying at home and not going to the grocery store as often as I usually do, I wanted to stock up on things that had a long shelf life and that weren't going to require refrigeration, because I knew that space in the fridge and the freezer were going to be limited. So I bought a bunch of beans. I bought so many kinds of beans and in so many varieties. These are red beans, but I've got black beans, white beans, 15 bean soup, every kind of bean there is, split pea, lentils, the whole deal. But my poor husband begged me for a bean moratorium for a couple of weeks. He said he just couldn't take any more. So I'm tossing in a bag of beans because that will be something that helps me remember the things that I cooked, and more importantly, the reaction that the things I cooked had on my family. So that's in there for me. Something else that I think is fun to put in, how are you occupying yourself? The puzzle manufacturers have had such a demand for jigsaw puzzles that they can't keep them in stock. So if you're some of the people that have been working jigsaw puzzles, you can put in an entire one like this, or just throw in a puzzle piece. That'll remind you of the way you spent your time. Maybe you prefer crossword puzzles, or Sudoku, or playing cards, anything like that. Toss in an example, toss in a card, toss in a crossword sheet, toss in anything like that that will help you remember things that you did to pass your time when you couldn't go to a crawfish ball, or a baseball game, or anything like that. So just put that in the box. That'll help you remember. Of course, because we're the library, we really hope that you're going to put in a book, because I hope that all of you are using this extra time to get in some good reading. By the way, I'm putting in a paperback because I want to have something in the box, and of course, we know that we always return our library books. By the way, if you've got library books or other resources checked out right now, don't worry about your due date. We understand that no one can get out, and so there are no due dates for the time being. Don't worry about it. Facebook will alert you when the date is, but even when that happens, remember that we're fine free now at the Livingston Parish Library, so don't worry about going over a due date and collecting a fine. But if you do have a Livingston Parish Library card, I hope that you've taken this time to take advantage of the resources that we have available for you online. Ebooks, there are movies, there are databases, there's a wealth of information there, and it's just at your fingertips. If you don't have a card, now's a great time to go to www.mylpl.info and put in a request for an e-card right now. Okay, so you're reading and you're working puzzles, and that's good, but what I think you're really going to appreciate looking at in a few years are your thoughts. What were you thinking while all this was going on? And that may be difficult to dredge up 10 or 15 years down the line without some prompts that will help you remember exactly the thoughts that were going through your head and the thoughts going through the heads of the people around you. So I'm also including a journal in my memory box, and I'm going to write down how I'm thinking. I'm trying to do it on a daily basis, but you know, I'm doing the best I can do. If writing, by the way, if you do write in a journal, please make sure that you do it in something that's going to be permanent. When I talked with my supervisor about this craft, she said, for heaven's sakes, tell people to make sure that they choose the ink carefully. She had, when she was in high school, as a project, written a letter to herself that she opened up 20 years later and found that she could no longer read because the ink had faded. So be careful of your ink choice. For heaven's sakes, don't write it in pencil because we know that that'll fade. If you prefer to use a computer to do your writing, get a flash drive and save your work to a flash drive, save your thoughts to the flash drive, and then just toss the flash drive into your memory box. And that will give you something to look at in 10 or 15 years. Now, maybe you have a hard time thinking of things to write about. So we came up with some things that will help you get started. Let's look at these. Okay, this first slide shows some things that you can start off writing with, and you'll note that it ends with a dot, dot, dot. We just gave you the first half of the sentence. Just jump off there and start with whatever comes in your head. By the way, you don't have to do all of these. We don't expect you to do all of these. We don't care if you do any of them. We just wanted to give you ideas of some things to think about when you want to put down your thoughts about COVID. This first one, the first prompt up here, how did you feel when you heard about it? I know at first it seemed like it was all so far away, but then suddenly it was in our country and then in our state. What did you feel like when you recognized that it was going to have an impact on your life? Maybe, though, this has presented an opportunity for you. And that sounds kind of crazy, but all of us have a million little tiny projects that we want to do, but we just don't ever get around to because we don't have time. Well, we've got plenty of time now. So maybe it was building a birdhouse. Maybe it was going for a quiet walk around your neighborhood. Maybe it was painting a room in your house. Whatever it was, if having this enforced time at home gave you an opportunity to do something, you can write about that. This is about, let's see, what was that one? Did I do something? No, when this is all over, I will always remember what? What's the thing you're always going to remember? I bet one thing that our former quarterback that's now a new Cincinnati Bengal is going to remember is he will always remember that he wasn't in Las Vegas at the Bellagio when he was drafted. So the COVID crisis has had some unexpected things. It's affected us in unexpected ways. What's something that you're always going to remember that might surprise you in 10 or 15 years? This is, I love this slide because the first prompt, did you, as a result of COVID, did you learn that you could do something you didn't think you could do? For me and for many of my colleagues, we had no experience doing things like this video. So my friends that are making the storybook and teen talk and teen craft videos, many of them had never done anything like that before at all. I know I certainly hadn't. But because of the COVID crisis, we wanted to stay connected with our patrons, and we knew this was the only way we could do it. So because of COVID, we learned that we could do something that we didn't realize we could do at all. Social distancing. I can't think of a springtime when I haven't been to a crawfish boil or get together as a family for a cookout. We can't do that. We can't go to church. Everything is totally changed, but there are still ways that we can get together and entertain ourselves and connect with each other. I know that I've been to virtual baby showers, virtual birthday parties. I've on television, I've seen people have virtual retirement celebrations. So, what are some of those things that you've done yourself that you could write about? This slide's about working, whether working from home or the impact that the coronavirus has had upon your place of employment if you own a business. The first one, I like working from home, and I do, but it really presents some unique challenges. I have 4 very noisy dogs. Sometimes to take a professional call, I have to go sit on inside my car on my driveway because it's the only way that the person on the other end won't be treated to sounds of my dogs roughhousing in the background. And I know that other people are having the same issue. This last prompt, those of you who are entrepreneurs, small business owners, I know that this is a scary, scary time for you right now. Put that down in words. Think about how you're going to overcome this. And I know that you're going to overcome it because that's just what we do. It's part of who we are. All of you that came back from the great flood of 2016, one day you'll be looking back at how you overcame the crisis of COVID in 2020. And I can't wait to see your success stories. This is a good way to get started down that road. Think, plan, and write about it. And the last one is about shopping, groceries. When you go to the store, as I said, you've got to mask up and put on gloves, and they're limiting the number of people that can go inside a store at a single time. Everything's very, very different. You've also probably noticed that you can't find everything that you want to find, whether in the grocery store or if you try to order it online. I don't know what it would take to get hand sanitizer, but it's certainly not in the stores or any of the places that I could find online. Of course, as a result of that, I've learned how to make my own hand sanitizer, so that's something I intend to write about. I will, of course, talk about the 15 different ways that I learned that you can cook beans, including you can use them in brownies as an ingredient, and they really are good. I don't care what my husband says. So that's something else that you can think about and write about it. These are just some ideas that we came up with to help you get started, because I know that sometimes coming up with what you want to say doesn't come easily. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that you continue to do so. Please remember, you can always go to the Livingston Parish Library's webpage and our www.mylpl.info to see the many resources that you can use and check out electronically. Also, please know that everybody at the library misses you very much, and we can't wait until we can start seeing you again. So, till next time, this is Charlotte Curtis, Head of Adult Services for Livingston Parish Library. Goodbye.